Okay, good afternoon. It's Scott Herndon, and it's just a little bit after noon Pacific time, and I wanted to give you an update on House Bill 752, which is a first in the nation bill for the state of Idaho. And this is a great vote that just happened today in the Idaho Senate. House Bill 752 passed the Senate 28-7, and the debate was just super interesting. So it just passed the Senate 28-7. I watched the entire floor debate. So you had Republicans debating. You mostly had Democrats debating against the bill. And I want to tell you exactly what happened, because some of what the Democrats said on the floor today, frankly, that I watched and that I listened to, you practically wouldn't believe in. And I like the Democrats, some of them in the Senate. I know James Ruckty personally. I like him, but I'm just always confused by the debates that they make on some of these issues. So I'm going to tell you, there was, out of the 28-7 vote, there are 29 Republicans and 6 Democrats in the Senate, and there was one Republican who debated against the bill and voted against the bill, and that was Senator Jim Guthrie. I believe he's Legislative District 35, and he has a Republican primary challenger in David Worley. And interestingly enough, back in 2020, Idaho was the first state to pass the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. And if I recall, there were only 2 Republicans who voted against that in the Senate, and Jim Guthrie was one of them. So I guess he's maintained consistency. But here's the origin of House Bill 752. This is the origin. So House Bill 752 started right here in my neighborhood in Sandpoint. I live in Sagal, 5 miles as the crow flies from Sandpoint. And House Bill 752 started at the Sandpoint YMCA. It's the Lighthouse YMCA. Back in November, Jenny Hook, a lifeguard at the YMCA, one of her duties was every 15 minutes to go into the women's locker room and make sure there was no situation that was unsafe in the women's locker room. And she discovered a man who was pretending to be a woman in the locker room, having just used the shower, and he was using the locker room, the women's locker room. And she thought, surely I can just tell the administration of the YMCA and they'll do something about it, and then I can call the police and there will be some law against it. And what she discovered was that the Sandpoint YMCA policy supported men in the women's locker room under the false notion that someone can change their gender. So this is the whole transgender issue. And then she discovered that there is no law on the books in Idaho where the police could do anything about this. So think about this. Prior to House Bill 752 passing today, men can use the locker room of women at government buildings, places of public accommodation. They can literally be in the showers with women and children, biological men, even if they're pretending to be a woman, and there is no law on the books against that. And House Bill 752 closes that gap. So it started right here in my community. And what happened is somehow I was the chair of the Bonner County Republican Party, former state senator, and somehow Jenny Hook was put in touch with me. And I remember very clearly telling Cornell Razor, we have to put an end to this for what it is. It's a crime against women and children. It's a crime, and so that's where we need to fix it. We need to fix it in Idaho criminal law. And that's exactly what House Bill 752 does. So here's what passed. House Bill 752 does this. It's very simple. It's only a 1-page bill. Most bills in Idaho are very short. Here's what it says. It makes it a misdemeanor crime for a biological male to enter a women's bathroom, locker room, or changing room at any government building or any place of public accommodation. That's going to include gyms. That's going to include restaurants. It's going to include coffee shops. It's going to include hotel bathrooms that are in a main area. Any place of public accommodation, it will now be a crime for a biological male to enter those spaces. Now, to assure people, this also applies to women entering men's bathrooms, although I would tell you that I don't think men care as much about that. It's the women who are instantly harmed and offended when it happens that a man walks into her locker room, her showering room. that is completely harmful and violating to authentic women. And so we criminalize that with a misdemeanor. A second offense within 5 years is a felony. It's a felony if you do it again. It is exactly like the indecent exposure criminal law we have in Idaho right now, except that we can't use that law in this situation, so we had to create a new law. Okay, I'll tell you what was said on the Senate floor. First of all, Ben Taves was the one who carried the bill. Oh, and I should say, we have exceptions in the bill for janitors, for emergency medical services, for law enforcement. If you need to help a minor child and you're a dad, you can take your little girl into the men's bathroom. So we have reasonable exceptions. If you're helping a parent or a grandparent who needs assistance, or your husband or wife who needs assistance, a disabled person who needs assistance, you can help them under this bill. Okay? So here's what was said on the Senate floor today. I watched Senator Ben Taves, who was our floor sponsor. So I co-wrote the bill with Cornell Razor. I originally said, we got to make this a crime. Ben Taves, we found, was a very competent senator to carry this in the Senate. And here's what he said. He said, and I quote, "There is no law in the books yet that prohibits a biological man from entering a showering room with women and children present. There isn't. And this bill that's now going to the governor, because it's already passed the House, 54-15, fixes that. Makes Idaho the first in the nation with this new criminal law." A sheriff, Ben Taves quoted one of his local sheriff, I'm going to guess it's the Kootenai County Sheriff, said, called this bill a great bill for harm prevention. So that's what probably the Kootenai County Sheriff, Bob Norris, said about the bill. And I'm sure our sheriff in Bonner County would say the same thing. And I'm sure the sheriff up in Boundary County would say the same thing if this situation happened up there. Now, a mother who is a senator stood up on the floor today and said, I want you to hear this. She said that she knows of situations where daughters, little girls, were exposed to a man in their private space, bathroom, locker room, changing room, and were traumatized. It causes trauma. That's what we're trying to prevent. And that's a mother. That's a real story. I know Tammy Nichols, and she did a great job on the Senate floor. And this is why the bill exists. Here's what the Democrats said. This is the terribly disappointing part. The Democrats said, and this, they all voted no. Senator Ruckty, who I really like personally, he started talking about the Jim Crow laws. So he actually was talking about House Bill 752, a bill that protects women in their locker rooms and showering rooms. And he compared that to the Jim Crow laws. If you know anything about the Jim Crow laws, I don't know how he got from here to there. Now, Senator Taylor compared it to the historical persecution of Mormons, of all people. He's a Democrat, and I don't get that at all. I think he was trying to compare the transgender class of people, which wasn't even a thing until 15 years ago. I mean, I'd have to look. When I was growing up, I'm 58, born in 1967, this did not exist. I don't think the transgenders compared to the Mormon pioneers, just so you know. But even so, we've got to protect the majority. Okay, Senator Wintrow called House Bill 752 inhumane. Senator Ward Engelking said, and I'm not making this up, Senator Ward Engelking, in her 60 seconds before she gave the vote, she said that this bill flies in the face of protecting children. This bill protects children. That's what it actually does. Now, a mother described her daughter's trauma. A sheriff called it a great bill. And the Democrats compared House Bill 752 to Jim Crow. I can't make this stuff up. Well, 28-7, House Bill 752 passed the Senate after already passing the House. It's on its way to the governor's desk. So I tell you what, Idaho knows how to make the right law. And they know how to make a difference. And this is going to make a difference. It sets leadership for the nation on this question. Okay, now what happens next? It goes to Governor Little, and the session's pretty much wrapping up today or tomorrow. The governor will have several days in which he's able to sign it. I want to encourage you to contact Governor Little, encourage him to support House Bill 752 the first in the nation to criminalize biological men and women's bathrooms, even at places of public accommodation. A very reasonable approach to a very real problem that happened right here in Sandpoint. And you can call the governor's office at 208-334-2100. 208-334-2100. Tell him, encourage him respectfully to support and sign House Bill 752. And the Senate did its job today. The House had done its job, and now we just need the governor to do his job, and Idaho will be in the right place. So if you want a senator, again, this started in Sandpoint. Cornell Razor, kudos to him, House Representative for District 1B. He's right up here with me, and he co-wrote the bill. He really was the main sponsor and the writer, and I gave him the idea and helped him navigate the process and helped him with some of the language and what the penalties ought to be. And if you want a senator that does this kind of thing to protect women and children, then vote for me on May 19th. I'm asking for your vote because this is exactly what the legislature is for. It's exactly how we need senators to respond to real problems in the state of Idaho that are right here in District 1 in Sandpoint, of all places, in our community. And so the Republican primary election is the most important midterm election this year is not in November. It is on May 19th. This is the Republican primary election. And I need your vote. I would appreciate it, and I'm asking for your vote on the May 19th primary election. So if you want to help my campaign, you can go to herndonforidaho.com. End of the month is Tuesday. That's March 31st. If you want to make a donation, please donate to my campaign. I'll talk next week about how my opponent, who's the current senator, what he debated on the floor. Basically, he read the polling. He voted yes. I'm appreciative. But he did not like this bill. And he said so on the floor. But that's not the point of today. The Senate did the right thing. But if you want a real fighter, support me, herndonforidaho.com. I'm Scott Herndon in the May 19th election. So, one more time. House Bill 752 passed the Senate today, goes to the governor. You can call the governor. It criminalizes biological men in women's bathrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, in government buildings and places of public accommodation, businesses, gyms, coffee shops, hotels, restaurants. Ask the governor to support the bill. It makes it a crime for a man to use those facilities and to harm women and children. We have nothing on the books now. This will make Idaho the first state in the nation to deal with this, frankly, ridiculous situation that men think they can do this, and they've been getting away with it, and it has been happening. House Bill 752. Thank you for watching this video. God bless Idaho. God bless you today.